According to research, about 95% of people who set New Year's resolution eventually never see the realization of their goals. And that is simple. There is always that nagging feeling or a voice in our heads that tells us that you're not fit enough or you do not have the resources to pursue your goals and then become successful. And that is what actually leads to several people giving up on their goals altogether. And so at this point, if I'll be completely honest with you, I didn't really feel like shooting this video. And so I felt like this is the best time, since I didn't feel like shooting the video, to actually talk about giving up on your goals altogether. And so if you're new here, my name is Nana. I hold a master's degree in business finance, and on this channel we discuss everything personal finance and personal development. And so without further ado, let's just go straight into understanding why people give up on their goals altogether. The first thing that we can discuss is imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome simply means that a condition where people feel like they do not have the requisite skills, the resources, or the abilities to actually get things done. So it makes you look down on yourself, even though you may have all the requisite skills, the necessary abilities, and whatever experience that is required to actually get you started, and then subsequently to steer you towards success in life. So it is simply an emotional state, or probably a psychological state, that you actually cannot verify. That even in the face of all the evidence, and you know very well that you're qualified, still your mind is still playing some emotional tricks on you, and that it still goes on to convince you beyond reasonable doubt that you're still not fit for purpose. And that is what leads several people to actually give up on their goals altogether. Secondly, we can talk about the fear of failure. So most people out there actually fear one thing, and that is failure. And that is simply because of the criticism that comes with failure. So we don't want to see failure, we don't even want to come across it. And if we do come across it, we tend to push it away or shy away from it altogether. We do not actually stand out to be proud of it. And that is simply because society over the years has actually done one thing, that anytime that people fail, they get punished for it. So sadly, you're programmed to actually believe that failure is the exact opposite of success. As opposed to this, failure is a composite of success. So you need to fail in order for you to become successful. And that is one of the reasons why people do not gather the courage to subsequently pursue their goals. And that actually leads them to actually throwing in the towel and then giving up entirely on their goals altogether. And so with this said and the understanding that we have, we move on to the third part of the video, and that is, why should we not give up on our goals altogether? The first thing that you need to know is that your goal is your life's GPS. So it gives you purpose and it gives you direction. It is said and widely believed that when a man knows not where he sails, no wind or no tempest at all is favorable to him or her. And so in order for you to actually get your life together and to pursue your goals and to become successful, you need to sit down and then define a definite chief aim. According to Napoleon Hill, you have to sit down and then ask yourself the question, what is that one goal that would actually steer me towards every single thing that I've actually been pursuing, or anything that is likely to bring me joy or happiness in life? Anything that drives you towards your sense of purpose and your sense of direction, or sense of actualization. Ask yourself these simple questions. Sit down and then write that thing. If it is to win a cup, probably if you're an athlete, or it is to actually save more money as a single parent, or it is to actually pursue that degree as a student, or to come out with distinction or a first class, that is actually something that becomes your definite chief aim, and it becomes your goal, and it drives every single action and inaction of yours. And so in order for you to actually become successful when it comes to pursuing goals and not give up on them, you have to sit down and define that definite chief aim that, according to Napoleon Hill, will subsequently trigger any action and inaction in your life altogether. This brings us to the second reason why you shouldn't give up in life, and that is simply because struggle actually builds strength. So according to Napoleon Hill, whatever adversity, whatever failure, or whatever challenges that you come across in life carries with it the seed of an equal or a greater benefit. So in a nutshell, every single thing that you're going through in life and all the challenges that you're faced with currently is actually nothing but a stepping stone for greater heights. And that is actually going to build that resilience and the strength that will subsequently be required for you to actually become successful when it comes to your goals. Everything that is happening is not working against you. It is working instead to actually get to that version of you that will make it much more easier for you to become successful in life when it comes to those goals that you've actually sit down to write and then defined. And that also goes on to prove the point that it isn't actually meant to hurt you or to stop you. And so anytime that you're faced with a challenge, approach every single challenge that you come across in life as a mere opportunity for you to actually either try something new or to actually build that resilience or that strength to carry on with your goals. This brings us to the third reason why you shouldn't give up on your goals, and that is persistence is rare, and that is why it pays. There's one thing for sure: if you really commit to a single goal for a very long time, you're surely going to reap the benefits thereof. If you have to talk about or think about all the successful people out there, think about someone like Warren Buffett or Bill Gates. They've actually committed themselves to one single cause or one single company, and they've committed all their resources, their skills, and their abilities to that one single cause, and that is why today they are actually successful. And so when it comes to goal setting and the subsequent pursuit and the attainment of goals, one thing that you need to know is that you have to actually improve 1% of the time, and then make sure that you don't give up halfway, because if you're to give up halfway, then everything that you've committed, all the resources, all the inputs would actually go down the drain. And so there's two general ways that you can actually ensure that you're committed and you're persistent when it comes to the pursuit and the attainment of your goals. One is to actually exercise the power of affirmation. So according to Napoleon Hill, write down your goal and then actually recite that goal to yourself every single morning or in the evening before you go to sleep. Secondly, James Clear goes on to highlight in Atomic Habits that habit tracking is one of the reasons why people give up on their goals altogether. So try as much as possible and then mark something physically that gives you evidence as to whatever progress that you've made when it comes to setting goals and the pursuit or whatever you're doing to actually realize that goal. Because the truth is, if you really see physical evidence of how much money or resources or the efforts or the sacrifices that you've made when it comes to your goals, it becomes very difficult for you to just actually turn your back on those things, simply because you've committed something and you don't want that to go down the drain. And so for instance, when I started this YouTube channel, I didn't really commit financially until somewhere down the line, a couple of months later, and that has really ensured that I am committed to the cause. Why? Because I've committed financially as well. And that gives me the physical evidence to shoot, edit, and then post videos on YouTube. This brings us to the fourth reason why you shouldn't give up on your goals, and that is simply because success actually leaves clues and you've got to follow them. So there's one recommendation from Napoleon Hill, and that is you need to actually apply the Mastermind Alliance. So you have to find like-minded people or people that think just like you and then surround yourself with those people, because that is one of the reasons why most people actually become successful. If you're to think about all the successful people out there, they have coaches around them, mentors, or people that guide their decisions, their actions, and their inactions. So if you truly want to build and to become successful in life, there's one thing that you need to know: master the power of alliance. Try as much as possible to surround yourself with like-minded people and people that will challenge you to become better than whatever version that you currently are. This brings us to the fifth reason why you shouldn't give up, and that is simply because your dream or your goals actually inspire several people. So for all you know, there are several millions of people out there that are actually going to benefit from your goal. So I've shared my dream here on this channel already, and that is to simply help people to actually live above the level of economic subsistence, simply to help eradicate poverty. So if you have such a goal, it's not much more easier for you to just give up on that goal, because it becomes extremely selfish when you actually give up on that goal altogether, because there are several kids out there, millions of children, according to the UN, actually die every single year from starvation and poverty. And so if you have the goal of actually seizing this opportunity to reverse this canker, then you cannot easily just give up, simply because you know that those kids that you're seeking to help actually have their lives and their goals also depending on what you do. And so for instance, if you also have the goal of helping people to actually reach their goals, you don't have to just sit down and then put your hands in between your thighs and say, oh, you know, I don't even care about them. That actually becomes a very selfish position for you to take, in that you're subordinating any other interest for the people and their greater good for yours. And that is not a position that anyone out there should be proud of. And that is why you have to still stick to it and then continue pursuing that goal. This brings us to the sixth reason why you shouldn't give up on your goals, and that is simply because wealth actually requires growth. So for me, I always pursue this goal of financial goals, like, you know, I'm just out there trying to find that version of me that wouldn't struggle in any way to handle the multi-million-dollar companies or the multi-billion-dollar companies. And I always believe that there is a version of every single person out there that you're just in the process of going out to find. So it's more or less like, you know, playing hide and seek, trying to find a version of you that wouldn't struggle to actually bring that goal into existence. And so it is more or less like an expedition. You don't have to beat yourself so much simply because you're not getting that goal, or you're not making any progress, or you're not seeing any physical signs of becoming successful when it comes to the pursuit and the attainment of that goal. I always believe in the law of the aggregation of marginal gains, in that if you're actually to improve 1% of the time, you increase your chances of becoming successful by at least 37%, according to Atomic Habits. And so that is something that you actually have to have at the back of your mind when it comes to your goals, that you're just on an expedition to find that version of yourself that wouldn't struggle to make that $1 million every single year, or probably even every single month, or to become one of the best athletes in the world, or to acquire that uni degree. There is always a version of you that wouldn't struggle to bring those goals into existence. And that is what you need to know. That consistency would actually help you to discover that version, and it will become much more easier after you go on with the growth to discover that version of yourself when it comes to the pursuit and the attainment of your goals. This brings us to the last reason why you shouldn't give up on your goals, and that is simply because the breakthrough is usually closer than you think. So in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill goes on to share a story of a man who later on became an insurance salesperson. But prior to that, he had actually gone out to his neighbors to borrow money from them in the pursuit of actually going out there to discover gold or to mine gold. And he bought several equipment and then took them to the site and he started digging. Now he dug for several months but didn't see any results whatsoever, or didn't see any gold inside. So finally he actually decided to give up, and as a result he sold those equipments to a scrap dealer, and the scrap dealer came in, actually went on to the site to analyze everything, called in experts, and then asked for their expert opinion. And so the experts went on to advise that if they were to continue drilling just 3 feet away from where the man had stopped earlier on, they are going to discover the gold. And surely, when they drilled just 3 feet away from where the first man had actually stopped drilling, they actually went on to discover gold. And the man subsequently became extremely rich. So that is something that you need to know. This is a story that should inspire you. More often than not, just when we really want to throw in the towel, that is the time that the breakthrough would actually spring up. And so you need to think about one thing. Before you give up, know that consistency will surely bring that results, and you're more or less closer than you think. And so you might be 3 feet away from your goal. And so stick to the goal. Try as much as possible to stay loyal. It isn't easy. And if it was easy, everyone out there would do it. And so if you found value with this video, kindly smash the like button. It really helps with the algorithm. And then consider subscribing, even as we grind towards the pursuit and the subsequent attainment of our goals together. I believe in you, and I know that you wouldn't give up, and we'll surely see each other successful subsequently. Thank you once again. See you in the next video.